Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Split Second, the show where horology and memery are fused in a menagerie of edits. We do edits. That's the gimmick here. You really ought to know by now. My name is Julio, and I can stop buying watches whenever I want to, okay? I don't have a problem. um, yeah, let's dive right in. Before we go any further, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and ring that bell so that you're notified whenever I publish a new video. As always, let's start with a customary wrist check. Today I'm wearing the Mitchell Timepieces Raider, and this watch actually has something in common with the watch we're going to be reviewing today. The Raider has a Miota 9039, and the watch we're looking at is, the production model is going to be powered by the Miota 9015. Now, I'm not here today to talk to you about this watch. Today I have something very exciting. I've been sent in for review a watch from a brand new brand, 960. Look at that thing. I am very excited to do this review since this is the very first channel that gets to do so. Psst. You're the first. What do you mean I'm not the first? I should have it. Blanchy? That Irish mother... So, yeah, apparently there was a bit of a mix-up, and this is actually going to be the second review of this watch. That's still exciting, right? Right? Please don't click away. All joking aside, I'm very happy to get a chance to review this watch. Shout out to Christian over at 960 for sending this my way. As I said in the intro, 960 are brand new to the watch world. They have 3 military-styled watches planned for production: sea, land, and air, diver, field, and pilot respectively. And with this diver being the first watch of a new brand, what I have here is actually a prototype. There are a few things that will be different on the production model. First, the seconds hand is going to have a counterbalance, which I feel helps it mesh more with the style of the hour and minutes hands. Secondly, the movement will be upgraded, as I mentioned previously, to a Miota 9015. Inside this sample is a Miota 8215, which explains the second-hand stutter you might be seeing there. Yeah, there it is. And finally, they will be numbered 1 through 200. Aside from those differences, what you see here is a fairly accurate representation of what you would be getting if you were inclined to purchase this watch. And a solid watch it is. The case back, crown, bezel, and bracelet are all made of 316L stainless steel. The case measures 44 millimeters, pretty much on the button. It has a thickness of 13.2 millimeters, taking advantage of the Miota slim profile. It has a lug-to-lug of 50.2 millimeters, but those are male end links on the bracelet, so it does feel a bit larger than that. It has a 22 millimeter lug width, which means you will never be short on straps. The case features horizontal brushing on the sides and vertical brushing on the top of the lugs there. At first glance, the transition looks like a chamfer, but it's actually kind of a step here. A step line, I don't know what to call this. A groove, I guess, which is repeated again here when you move towards the crown guards. Those are protecting a threaded crown, by the way, which aids with a 200 meters of water resistance, and is also signed. Now, also signed is a case back, which is polished, as well as the clasp on the bracelet. On top of the case is a 120 click ratcheting unidirectional bezel with great tolerance to it. It has a ceramic inlay with a lume pip at 12. Hugged by that bezel is a flat piece of sapphire with 5 layers of anti-reflective coating. The dial is pretty standard fare for a diver. Matte black with a triangle at 12, rectangles at 3, 6, and 9, with the 3 truncated to accommodate a date window. Circular markers complete the layout at all other indices. The dial is pretty uncluttered, which I love, with only the 960 logo at 12 and the stated water resistance at 6. All indices, as well as the logo, are printed, not applied. The handset is something I've never really seen before. The hour hand is kind of a sword style, with the minutes hand being a kind of elongated fence post. However, one awesome feature is that when they're facing opposite sides of the dial, there is a real cool effect where the minute hand continues the taper from the hour hand. Let me just get that in so you can see. Look how cool is that? That's very nice attention to detail there. The seconds hand has an arrow tip, which I associate more with a GMT hand than a seconds hand, but you know, it's not that distracting. The minute and seconds hand do add a pop of orange, breaking the color scheme here. The end links, they flow seamlessly from the case and into the bracelet, and they have very little play. The bracelet itself is fully brushed and has single links masquerading as a 3-link. It tapers from 22 down to about 20 at the press clasp, which is about 21.5 itself. This clasp does provide double security with a flip lock and push buttons, keeping it in place. And yeah, this isn't going anywhere. Included with this review sample is a black and orange NATO, which I feel plays well with the dial and hands, as well as a canvas watch roll, which includes the 960 logo on it. I think that's pretty neat. Production models will include a seatbelt NATO with a more subdued design. What do I like? Well, I have no idea what design voodoo Christian employed here, but this does not wear like a 44mm watch. Usually Seiko pulls off this trick by having a short lug to lug, but that's not what Christian did here. I think the case shape itself has something to do with it. By the way, the case shape is another thing I'm a big fan of here. It juts out just enough right here on the 9 o'clock side to balance out the crown and crown guards, reducing the inherent slight asymmetry that pretty much every watch has to one degree or another. You know, you don't have anything on this end, but on this end you have a crown. That's kind of what I'm talking about here. Well, this design really kind of balances that out, I think. As I mentioned earlier, I love how clean this dial is. It's no nonsense, high visibility, very Spartan, and very in keeping with the design language and ethos of the founder of 960, who is ex-military and put a lot of his story into this timepiece. The bezel has a good sweet spot with the tolerance and ratcheting. I like playing around with these, and this is just very satisfying. And it's very grippy thanks to the notched edge on it. I've also found this watch to be very accurate, gaining only about a minute over the course of a week. I mentioned previously how cool it is when the hour and minutes hand are pointing in opposite directions. And finally, you know, it's on the watch, but let's use the roll for visibility's sake. The 960 logo itself is something I'm a big fan of. It's one of the coolest, most well thought out logos I've seen on a watch. Not only that, but it ties into Christian's story very well. 96 and 0 are the last 3 of his army number, and their stylization of that into a maze represent him working out who he was when he joined up the military at 16. And if we take a look at the logo here, it's a 9 on the outer, a 6 at the middle, and then a 0 at the very middle. This is, like I said, incredibly well thought out. What do I wish were different? Now, there's a few things that make me feel like this watch deserves a Mark II version. First, the date window is just cut out. There's no border, frame, or outline. I would have been happy to see a slight chamfer to the cutout at least. But having it just be a square-shaped hole makes it feel like, well, we have these movements with date wheels on them, might as well cut out a window. Also, I hadn't mentioned it up till now for a reason. The loom on this thing is nothing to write home about. There's 5 layers on the hands and 8 on the indices. Now, granted, that's just about as much loom as you can get on the indices without the paint starting to crack on you, which is why applied indices tend to be a more desirable proposition. You can just dump layer after layer in there. However, having 5 layers on the hands feels like a bit of a cost-cutting measure. You always want your hands to glow more than your indices, not the other way around. And with this model, the minutes hand in particular seems to fade faster than the rest of it. Now, not helping with loom durability, they seem to have gone with an old radium style of paint, which makes the date wheel stick out even more, as the white from it stands out clearly against the warmer cream color of the indices. Although signed, the caseback feels a bit plain. Given how awesome the logo is, I would have liked to see it take up a bit more of that caseback space, maybe even all the way up to the border where the watch specs are listed. Now, to be fair, Christian has clarified that the look he is going for is more military issue / utilitarian, which is in keeping with what you're seeing here. As far as things I wish were different on this watch go, the last thing I have an issue with is a three-parter. As in, I have 3 issues with the bracelet. While comfortable, I would have liked to see the added comfort and articulation that you get from having a true 3 link, such as this. You see that? As compared to this. And I already mentioned how the male end links add to the overall length of this watch. And finally, the press clasp. I really would have liked to see a milled scissor clasp here, especially at this price point, which is the final and most substantial thing I would change about this watch. Early bird pricing is £399 and will be going up to £499 as of October 1st. Now that's roughly $550 and $680 respectively. Once you cross that $500 threshold, things get very competitive in the microbrand sphere. All the prior misgivings I mentioned are things I could possibly look past on a watch retailing for $300 or less. And even then, there have been watches featured on this channel from the likes of Phoebus and Aragon that are well under the $300 mark and deliver in the areas of loom and bracelet execution. At the $500 and above price point, you really need to knock it out of the park and splinter the bat in order to stand out. In that bracket, as far as microbrands are concerned, you're directly competing with the likes of Zelos, who are known for delivering top-notch and unique timepieces with quality second to none. Not only that, but at that price range, you also start looking into entry-level Swiss-made, such as Tissot or Hamilton. Now, granted, these may not be fair comparisons, given that all the previously mentioned are larger, more established brands who all have, to some degree or another, greater economy of scale than 960 does. However, that is the ring into which they decided to throw their proverbial hat. And, people only have so much money to spend, and while the 960 is in no way a bad watch, you really have to bring something truly astonishing to the table to be able to stand out, and I think they fell just short of that proposal here. Any QC issues? None. Absolutely none. The sample I was sent is solid as a tank and running like a top. Everything aligns perfectly. The crown threads and unthreads smoothly, and I was unable to find any specks of dust on the dial. The only thing worth mentioning here is a slight bit of backplay on the bezel, but it doesn't feel mushy or spongy, and it bounces right back into place. The final verdict? Well, as I have said previously, the 960 is a brick house, a very solidly constructed watch, which I believe can take pretty much anything you throw at it. However, there are several elements that I feel could be improved upon. If they ever produce a second version of this watch, and I do think it deserves one, I feel that by addressing the points I made previously, they would have a 10 out of 10 watch on their hands, which could better justify the asking price. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. However, is there value to be found here? I'll leave that up to you. Don't just take my review into consideration though. This watch was already reviewed by Daniel over at Blanchy Talks Watches, and it's heading over to Brian at Taking the Time, both linked below. If you don't already follow them, you are doing yourself a disservice. If you fancy this watch, you'll also find a link to the 960 website below, where you can purchase one for yourself. And one more thing, Christian was kind enough to provide us with a discount of sorts. By the time you see this video, early bird pricing will be over and done with, but viewers of this channel can provide the code split second upon sending your pre-order email and will be sold the watch at early bird pricing. Now, for transparency, that is not an affiliate code. I don't get anything from your use of it, but act fast though, because as I said earlier, this run is limited to only 200 pieces, and once they're gone, that's it. Shipping of these is expected by late November, early December. That'll be it for me today though. What did you think of the 960? Do you agree with my assessment of the watch? Am I just an idiot who can't tell a G-Shock from a hole in the ground? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to do all the YouTube things. My name is Julio. Stay safe, mask up, and be kind to each other, because life can change in a split second. Whoa! You made it all the way to the end of the video? Really? That's amazing. Even I don't make it all the way to the end of the video. Well, if you like what you saw, click here for another video and click here to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're notified whenever I publish a new video. Thanks for watching.